you suffer from atrial fibrillation or a type of irregular heartbeat, and you've been prescribed the prescription drug Pradaxa to treat your AFib and to prevent future heart attacks and strokes. My name's Dan Burke, and I'm a lawyer at Parker Wakeman in New York, and I represent clients who've taken the prescription drug Pradaxa and who have suffered injury. The types of injuries we're seeing in Pradaxa patients are bleeding incidents, and these are bleeds, either gastrointestinal bleeds, bleeding behind the eyes, bleeding on the brain, or cerebral hemorrhaging or intracranial hemorrhaging, all types of internal bleeding events in folks who've taken Pradaxa. Part of the problem with this drug is that there's no effective antidote to the use of Pradaxa. In other words, if bleeding starts when a patient is taking Pradaxa, it's difficult, if not impossible, to stop. The drug has a relatively long half-life of 12 hours, which is the time the active drug stays in the human body. So if a bleed begins to occur, it takes a period of time to stop the bleed from happening, and there's really no, as I said, effective antidote. Comparable drugs like warfarin, or many people are familiar with the term Coumadin, those drugs, although they're blood thinners and they have the propensity to cause bleeding, also have a number of different steps that could be taken to stop the bleeding once it starts. As I said, with respect to Pradaxa, there's no such effective antidote other than dialysis. And dialysis can take several hours and only take a portion of the effective drug out of the body over the course of those several hours. The drug is one that's cleared through the kidneys, which is why dialysis works, to stop the bleeding in some cases. However, because it's cleared through the kidneys, patients who have impaired renal function or impaired kidney function may also have difficulty clearing the drug, and the half-life could be much longer, putting them at greater risk for bleeding events. Additionally, the type of bleeding events we're talking about don't only include internal bleeding events or closed head bleeding events. They concern bleeding that result out of seemingly minor traumas, such as a fall from tripping over one's feet, or seemingly minor injuries that cause an internal bleeding event. These bleeds can become much more serious and ultimately be fatal, because the bleeding after Pradaxa started is difficult, if not impossible, to stop. Again, my name's Dan Burke. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me today. Have a great day.